Choosing a career path is really hard. Many people get confused as to what job they want because it's not always clear what kind of work they'll do. To make it even more confusing, different companies have different definitions of what a data scientist is and does. In this video, I will tell you exactly the differences between a data scientist, a data analyst, and a data engineer. Before I talk about the specifics of each position, let's understand how companies collect, process, and use data. Ultimately, as employees, we're filling a need that a company has. This illustration will help us understand those needs. What this illustration is saying is that you cannot process data if you don't collect it first, properly. Likewise, you cannot do any advanced analytics or machine learning if the data is not labeled or classified properly. In general, we will need a different but related set of skills that will take us from one step to the next. For example, you may have some log files that look like this. Not bad, but to do anything with them, you have to store them in a consumable format. Big companies have a large amount of data, and this becomes a highly complex distributed systems problem. The people who work on these systems are typically software engineers or data engineers. This brings us to our first position, the data engineer. The main responsibility of a data engineer is to maintain and automate data pipelines. This means getting data from one step to the next in an automated way. Their background is usually in computer science or computer engineering because the code they write should be of very high quality because they are going to be the backbone of the data infrastructure of the company. Everybody will rely on this data, but because data comes from multiple sources, data engineers have to be very skilled at all of these multiple systems and have them work together to ultimately store the data in one place to make it accessible for the rest of the business. This is why data engineers should be very familiar with cloud technology such as Apache Airflow, Spark, and Hadoop. This brings us to our next position, the data analyst. Once this data is usable and queryable, you can use it to answer business questions. This is the exact role of a data analyst. Data analysts have great communication skills and great product intuition because they help guide the future research of a company or a product. This means tracking product success metrics, generating reports, or visualizations. Data analysts shape the future of the product by doing analysis and presenting to non-technical audiences. A very challenging aspect of being a data analyst is that sometimes you have to explain very technical concepts to a largely non-technical audience. This is crucial because sometimes you've done an amazing analysis, but you have to be able to explain to maybe your manager, your director, or maybe the president of the company that may not exactly understand the details, but somehow you have to make the point that your analysis will help the future of the company. Companies have different titles for a data analyst. You could be a product analyst, business intelligence analyst, but roughly speaking, all of these positions are mostly equivalent with some differences here and there. And although some of these positions may do some predictive analytics, this is the main responsibility of a data scientist. Data scientists do what I like to call predictive inference. That is to use quantitative tools to make inference or predictions. I'll be honest here, data scientists usually make more than data analysts because it requires a more technical background. The background for a data scientist is at least a master's and in some instances a PhD. For example, when I worked at State Farm Insurance as a data scientist, part of my job was to predict if somebody would have an accident or not in the future. Most recently, lots of companies use different titles for a data scientist. So you could be a research engineer, an applied engineer, an applied scientist, or any combination of these. And as long as you're doing quantitative inference, you can consider yourself a data scientist. This leads me to my last and final point, the overlap. There is a natural overlap in these data positions, and how to exactly tell the differences between one or the other is for a given position, what percentage of your time is spent doing a particular task. So for example, if you're doing 50% or more of your time doing engineering, and that's what you like, then you're going to be a data engineer. Likewise, if you find yourself doing a lot of predictive modeling and data science work, then you're going to be a data scientist. Let me know in the comments which position you like the most and why. Don't forget to like the video and see you in the next one.